Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. Umar radiallahu an, before Islam, there was an incident where he would travel for certain days and he would decorate himself an idol made out of dates, and the purpose for this was so that he can worship the idol. But what happened was, in the same evening, that he got hungry and he ate the idol which he actually made the same day. They used to say about Umar, as a saying, they used to say that his donkey would become Muslim before Umar. This is how far away he was from Islam. And he would make an idol to worship, and then he would eat the god. He would eat the god made out of dates later on in the same day when he became hungry. And there was certain instances where the companions would sit after Salatul Fajr, and they would talk about their days of Jahiliyyah, and some of them said that we would make gods to worship, and then had we have stayed there forever, we would have worshipped them forever, even though they had made them out of the surroundings, examples such as rock. So this is how disgraced Umar's life was, radiallahu anh, before his Islam. But then after Islam, when he was the Khalif, he was in charge of a big portion of the world. Some say that he was in charge of North Africa and a big charge of Middle East. Islam increased by 5 handspans at Umar's Khilafah. Then there was an incident whereby Umar was going to see the Roman leaders, and he was going to see the Roman leaders, but then he was in charge of such a big portion of the world, and he was going to meet another superpower of the world. But to visit them, he was going to go on his own with one guide and a donkey, and he was in charge of 3 continents of the world: southern Spain and North Africa and a big part of the Middle East. But at the same time, he was only taking this to visit the enemies of Islam. And so when they were traveling, it was him, the guide, and the donkey. And when they will travel, there will be a rotation system whereby Umar radiallahu anhu would be riding, and then he would come off and he would drag the guide, and then they would give the donkey a rest. And then it was a circular movement where they would rotate like this. But when they approached the enemies of Islam for negotiation, it was Umar's turn to actually be pulling the guide on the donkey. And then the guide was saying that, why don't you sit on the donkey and let me push you, because they might think low of you, because they have such high expectations. This person is such a big leader, such a great person, and he is coming, because it's bad enough that he's only with one guide and a donkey. But on top of that, the fact that if he is pulling the guide, then Umar, his response was, he said waylul lak, as in woe be to you. This is a formal way of cursing someone. He said waylul lak because he said, before Islam, look what we used to be, and now when Islam came to us, look where Allah raised us. When we used to seek the pleasure of the people, Allah disgraced us. But when we forgot the pleasure of the people and we ignored the pleasure of the people, Allah elevated us. Allah elevated us many degrees. So why should we go back to seeking the pleasure of the people, when it's only when we used to seek the pleasure of the people, we used to eat our gods. We used to make gods out of stones and worship them. And now that we fear Allah, Allah has made me in charge of such a big portion of the world, and you're recommending as a suggestion to go back to them. So even when they approached them, when they were surprised the fact that he was on his own, they went to the guide and they approached him. They thought he was Umar, and they were kind of surprised to see that they were on their own. And then the guy said, I'm not Umar. The person who's dragging me, who's carrying me, who's leading me is Umar. And they were even more astonished. So the point is that Islam, it honors people, and people try to seek honor in other than Islam, But Islam honors people to the extent whereby we can't get honor of the people, because Allah is the one who honors and Allah is the one who dishonors. So it doesn't make sense that we ignore what Allah says and we try to get honor through drugs and through violences. Because Muhammad alayhi salam, he said that the believers are strangers, but some of us are not strangers, but we are an example for the non-Muslim of their own way of life. It's like, you don't know how to sell drugs, I will teach you how to sell drugs. And you don't know how to dress properly, I will teach you how to dress. You don't know how to sneak into the club, I will teach you how to sneak into the club. You don't know how to talk to women, I will teach you how to talk to women. And we are the ones who are meant to be strangers, but rather we become an example for the non-Muslims of the non-Muslim way of lifestyle. And we want honor, and we want to be respected, and we want to be honored, and we are seeking honor in other than Islam, when we know as Muslims that honor comes only from Islam. نقول قولنا هذا استغفر الله.